Gdje prestaje naše tijelo? Gdje prestajemo mi? Uobičajeni doživljaj govori nam da naše tijelo završava našom kožom. Unutra smo mi, vani sve ostalo. No uistinu nije tako. Izvan našeg tijela protežu se razna električna polja, a i mi kao bića uronjeni smo u puno veća polja, kako električna, tako i magnetna. U tome nema ničeg spornog. U novije vrijeme počela su se otkrivati i svjetlosna polja sa spoznajom da naša DNK emitira fotone. Jesu li ta polja tek manifestacija života ili predstavljaju neko temeljnije životno polje koje nas drži na okupu i živima, kao neko jaje u koje smo mi ugnježđeni? Potraga za biopoljem traje desetljećima. Ako postoji, kakva je njegova priroda? Može li se utjecati na njega? Može li ga se izmjeriti? Sama ideja biopolja vodi i do ideje o harmoniji cjeline, a i do vrata koja se nalaze ovdje, na rubu znanosti.
Dobar večer. Srbislav Brašovan je liječnik, preciznije ginekolog koji živi u SAD-u, no danas razgovaramo o temi kojom se također bavi, a tema je biopolje. Dobar večer. Eto, na ovom mjestu ne srećemo se prvi put s tom temom, pomalo ju se dohvaća, uvijek nekako ona klizi izvan dohvata, ali za početak, s obzirom da, eto, skoro pola stoljeća živite u SAD-u, kako ste se iz vašeg zanimanja ginekologa zapravo prvi put sreli i zainteresirali za temu biopolja?
I have been living in the United States now for 62 years. I have been practicing medicine for 62 years. I became gynecologist in 1968. However, all my life, starting with a wise woman, my grandmother, I had an open field of the view of the life. In 1976, I'm one of the founders of American Holistic Medical Association, which really adds folk medicine to medicine. In 1997, I became holder of Ayurvedic diploma, so I'm physician and I'm also Ayurvedic physician. In 2012, I had a really bad sciatica. I had sciatica that was bothering me. I tried all the allopathic medicine, physical therapy, everything, nothing really worked. A friend of mine came from one small town in the United States, from Missouri, Branson, Missouri. He said, oh, I was in one of the stores. They gave me a sample of the pain patch. Why don't you try it? I put it on my back. I woke up in the morning. No pain. Well, the patch had a backing like a cardboard. I had information, so I went through my trash. I found the backing, look up the number, called the company. And 2 months later, I became their director for research and development. So ever since then, I have been really heavily involved in looking at the frequency as a way how we can really help achieving a better life and better health.
Što bi onda bilo to ljudsko, odnosno u ovom situaciji pričamo o ljudskom, to nam je najbliže, ali možemo pričati o biljkama i o životinjama. Što bi to bilo zapravo biopolje? Mi svi znamo i svjesni smo naravno pojma aura koji je tu odavno s nama, a od vremena Kirilanove fotografije čak se može snimiti, od vremena pip kamere Harry Orfila može se snimati i kamerom u realnom vremenu, nešto slično, da ne pričamo o GDV kameri Konstantina Korotkova, koja isto tako neke stvari hvata, koji isto bi jednom ili dva puta ovdje na vašem mjestu gdje vi sjedite, ali eto, što bi zapravo to bilo biopolje?
Well, up to 1970, we were relying really on a hearsay, a no scientific way. The biofield is nothing new. As you said, it goes down to 5,000 years when Ayurveda was talking about biofield, actually aura, as you said, and also chakras, which are the smaller biofields inside of our body. In 1970, Fritz Albert Popp, a German scientist, put fresh cuttings of the leaf in a dark chamber, put a very sensitive film on top of it, and to his absolute surprise, he had photographs of those leaves beaming light. This was the first time that the biofield was really scientifically proven and shown. Since then, as you said, there are many, many mechanical devices from the Kirlian photography, that was also in 1920, to Konstantin Korotkov's camera that I use routinely in my practice, so I can talk about Konstantin a lot because I know him well, okay? And what biofield is really that light that Fritz Albert Popp seen is actually emission of the units of the light that our eye receives. By having those units of the light that our eye receives, which is called photon, we really see the light. Since this was coming out of the biological matter, we call those units of the light from the biological matter biophotons. Conglomeration of those biophotons surrounds the human body. And in 1992, for the first time in the United States, biofield was accepted as a medical term by National Institute of Health, NIH. And this is a major change in allopathic medicine that recognized there is such a thing as a biofield. Prior to that, we did not have it. Biofield is conglomeration of all the cellular structures that are within our body that emit those biophotons and emit and surround us. The biofield definition was the biofield is a field of energy, not necessarily electromagnetic. And that is the most important part of it because truly we have no slightest idea what energy of the life is. So it is not necessarily electromagnetic energy, but we do express it in joules energy units. So that surrounds and influences our body. And that's what biofield is all about. It is the field of the energy that is surrounding us. Unfortunately, we have no idea what kind of energy it is. Tesla was talking about scalar energy, which is probably closer to what we are talking right now, because if you look at the chakras are small energy fields in our body. There are 7 of them, and they were described 5,000 years ago by the Veda and Ayurveda. We now recognize this energy as a part that corresponds with our main endocrine system organs or our neurological organs like solar plexus. And all those 7 correspond with one of those major systems. Those we can all measure now. And we can influence our biofield by our thinking, by being plugged into electrical circuit with a certain machines, or what lately has been really happening, which I think is the future of the medicine, is development of non-electrically ran small patches. Those patches use that biofield energy for activation. So since those little patches have no batteries and they are tuned, the easiest way to compare them is to say the act like microchips, because they're not microchips, so that nobody has to worry that they will be monitored or whatever it is. But they're like microchips. They're made, those little patches are made out of the silicone, and they have added a little bit of the metallic salts. Silicone is semiconductor. When you add metallic salt, that becomes doped semiconductor. That increases energy of the, increases potential of the memory for over 100,000 times. So you can really program those little boogers with whatever you want to energy-wise. We use in medicine extremely low electromagnetic energy to program those chips so they can emit electromagnetic frequency to our body to bring our body into the balance. Our body produces electromagnetic energy, or energy, let's call it, and has to receive it all the time in order to be in balance. Without that balance, our cells do not recognize the frequency, and they become diseased. As you mentioned before we started, the change of the paradigm of the medical thinking is coming up. We always thought that biological processes or diseases are caused by chemical changes in our body, and then we can do the blood test, and we can do the diagnostic procedures. Well, we're finding now that those biochemical changes that occur in our body were preceded with electromagnetic changes or different frequency changes on a molecular and atomic level long time before biochemical changes occur. And that is something that we have to take in a very serious consideration. You know, you mentioned Korotkov bio-well camera. I can detect changes of the organs way before anything happens. And it is very interesting because I have been using Korotkov camera since 2014. I've been finding that some patients who had disturbing changes on an electromagnetic level in certain organs, 2-3 years later, they developed some incurable diseases. So it is something that is really, that we have to really look into it.
Spomenuli ste Alfreda Fritza Popa koji je skovao izraz biofotoni, to su stvari fotoni iz živog bića. Oni su nalik laserskoj svjetlosti, oni su koherentni, ali su rijetki. I on je odmah uočio u to vrijeme da postoji neka veza između poremećaja te svjetlosne komunikacije i nekakvih zdravstvenih problema i naravno odmah mu je palo i na pamet kako bi možda mogao svjetlost zdrave stanice puštati na svjetlost bolesne i slično. To nas dovodi zapravo do jednog pitanja. Otkuda u stvari i što uzrokuje to biopolje? To je možda pitanje za $1.000.000, možda za $100, ja ne znam. Ali eto, vidimo da od negdje iz naših, neko bi možda rekao neke svjetlosne DNK, tko će znati, izlaze nekakvi fotoni. Što je zapravo uzrok, nekakav prapočetak, od kuda se to biopolje emanira? Što ga uzrokuje?
There are several theories of it. And of course, in medicine and in science, we all live on a theory. So the biofield was considered for a long time that is a product of human metabolism. As we metabolize our food, we emit certain energy as a byproduct. Well, our food is an energy, and we need the food as an energy. So in the process of these metabolic changes, certain energy has been emitted out. But it is something which is very, very interesting. And I don't buy this theory anyway. You know, if you consider the center of the atom, the size of Mother Earth, of the planet Earth, first electron would be as far as the moon. So all this place in between, we used to think it's an empty space. But that empty space is full of the fantastic energy, scalar energy that Tesla discovered but could not utilize it because we don't know how to harness it. That scalar energy, 1 cubic centimeter, can produce as much energy as probably 10 or 15 atomic bombs. It is unbelievable, something that is probably future for us to find out and utilize it because it is totally free.
Kad ste spomenuli atomske bombe, sva sreća da ga još nitko nije naučio koristiti. Može se i tako gledati. Nastavite dalje.
I agree with you 100%. There is no question. However, I feel, and this is my personal theory, which has nothing to do with the big science, okay? This is Serber's feeling, that really that specific energy that Einstein described as the most powerful energy that is way behind any atomic fusion or any atomic explosion energy. And we all know that energy. We all can feel that energy. We can describe it. But we have no way how to measure it. Einstein called that love. I subscribe to his theory 100%.
Dobro. Kada već pričate o tim subatomskim područjima, na koji način se zapravo ovdje povezuju medicina i kvantna fizika? Dosta dugo vremena nekako su to bilo odvojena polja, jer ako postoje kvantni procesi u svim česticama, takozvanim česticama, što god one bile, onda naravno postoje u česticama koje čine ljudsko tijelo. To se dugo vremena zanemarivalo, zadnjih 10-20 godina već postoji izraz kvantna biologija i slično, što je sasvim naravno zapravo i logično. I ovo takozvano polje nulte točke ili kvantni vakuum ili na razne načine kako se ono opisuje, na koji način i gdje bi bio taj nekakav kanal, na koji način mi, eto, smo ipak nekako možda spojeni sa tim poljem i je li ovo polje koje zovemo biopolje zapravo nekakva manifestacija tog polja ili bi to bilo neki treći posrednik?
Well, every single atom emits frequency. Every frequency in our body has the balance, and we know the balance of the healthy frequency. We can measure it today thanks to Konstantin Korotkov. We can measure it with some other apparatuses as well, but I think the most valuable measurements we get from Konstantin. And actually in 2018, at the International Congress of Integrative Medicine, I proposed for Konstantin's measurements to be accepted as a standard of the measurements in quantum medicine. What we can do in quantum medicine, utilize those frequency changes, measure them at the time when those changes occur. And if you add outside source of the normal frequency, the balanced frequency, our body will remember that balanced frequency and convert to the normal. And that is the beauty of all the therapy of frequency, patches, machines, name it, we have it nowadays. So we can convert those abnormal frequencies to the normal frequencies. You know, I love to compare frequency, especially in hormonal, because I'm a gynecologist, in hormonal balance. Hormones in our body are absolute harmony. And when you talk about harmony, I love to talk about music. So consider that our brain is music composer. Our midbrain collects all the information, and he's a music producer. Our pituitary gland, which is just is known as a third eye or whatever you want to call it, is conductor. Our thyroid gland is the first violin, and the rest of it is the orchestra. So if we look at this, we can really take the very good way that we can influence either our midbrain with the frequency, or, for example, we can influence selective organs like ovaries. And by using patches which will emit those frequencies, we can change abnormal frequencies to the normal. Right now, we have United States and we have in Europe, especially on the Balkans, we have a certain patches that we can utilize on ovaries. They can control menopausal syndromes. They can control all the hormonal disbalances of the ovaries. We have also patches that can control disbalances in the neural system, like for post-traumatic stress syndrome, which is very common here, and it's very common in the United States after the war. So those are fantastic potentials. And we did studies on those patches. And, for example, for menopausal patches, we had a 97 percentile success rate of controlling all the menopausal symptoms. You can't find that in any medication, and there is no side effects. There is no medication in it. There is really nothing harmful. But the one thing is, if you do the blood testing on those people, the hormone levels will not fluctuate. They will be low. Because we used to believe that every cell in our body has receptors, and we know that the receptors still exist. And the hormones come as there's a lock, and this is the key, comes like a lock and key, and the cell starts working. It is not true. Actually, those receptors are antennas, like you have a TV antennas here. And you don't have to have a hormone come through it, because hormones are very weak emitters of the frequencies. You can send those frequencies from outside of your skin, and cells will think they have hormones and act normally. But there is no hormones. There is no side effects. And that is beauty.
Spomenuli ste izraz već nekoliko puta kvantna medicina. To je izraz, eto, koji se jednom i koristio, bila je jednom tema u emisiji na Rubu znanosti. Međutim, ta kvantna medicina ima jako puno svojih lica, od nekakvih računala, počelo sa onim amsatem prije 20 godina, danas je to otišlo do drugih stupnjeva. Naravno da je sad teško razdijeliti kvantnu medicinu, iza tog pojma se može skrivati štošta. Koliko danas zapravo, da tako kažemo, ima lica, na koje sve načine i što sve spada u tu kvantnu medicinu? Osim recimo biopolja koje je u stvari kao nekakvo temeljni okvir na kojem se radi. Ali što zapravo danas uopće znači kad neko kaže kvantna medicina?
Quantum medicina is really the medicine that examines and studies any function that works on certain frequency levels. Our mind is a frequency. Our words are frequency. We can heal by the word, and we can also cause diseases by the word. We can heal mind. We can heal diseases by the mind. And this is known for centuries and centuries, especially Japanese use of the Reiki therapy, use of different mental therapy for therapies. We use our energy for it. Any energetic field, anything that uses subatomic particles is really part of the quantum medicine. Acupuncture, any other Ayurvedic medicine is really part of the quantum medicine, because you can change body by using different type of the diets, like in the Ayurveda, with different type of yoga or Tai Chi, with different type of meditation. All that influences us. And we all change. You know, there was a very famous Indian philosopher, Krishnamurti. I presume, because you know everything as far as I can see here. Krishnamurti had over 30,000 followers. He had two huge centers. One was in Switzerland and another was in Los Angeles in U.S. His age of 80, I think, developed, that was in 1985, he developed colon cancer, and he gave his last lecture in Switzerland. And all the most famous philosophers, physicists, name it, came to hear that very famous philosopher to give the last lecture. He came out on the podium. Those days there was no projectors and things of that nature. Turned toward the audience. There was about 3,000 people in his audience, bowed in a good Hindu way and said, "One. We are all one." Turned out to the blackboard, wrote one, and he says, "We are all connected. Our all energy are one of the universe." Bowed and walked out. That was his last lecture. And I think this is something that we have really to take in consideration. We are all energetically connected. So everything is quantum medicine.
Obično se u nekakvoj idejama u svijetu, rekao bih iz 20. stoljeća dominantno, govorilo o materiji i energiji. A u novije vrijeme na mnogo mjesta se pojavljuje nekakvo trojstvo koje glasi informacija, energija, materija. Meni se čini da često puta kad se priča o tim bioenergijama, da se zapravo u stvari radi o bioinformacijama. Kao računalo, ne popravljate ga tako da mu dodate struju, nego informacije da se to nekako popravi. Sad taj spoj informacija, energija, materija daje sasvim drugi pogled na čovjeka i sasvim druga vrata otvara od kuda bi se trebalo krenuti. Jer naravno, sad se nameće pitanje od kuda informacija, možemo li sami stvoriti informaciju koju treba i tako. Pa u kojoj mjeri se danas ta ideja informacija, materija, energija kao jedna cjelina zapravo postaje nekako prihvaćena? Širi li se ona, pogotovo u, recimo, sveučilištima u Americi, ili ona ostaje negdje ovako kod usamljenih pionira još uvijek, koji uporno pokazuju da bez informacije niti materija, niti energija zapravo nemaju smisla, niti oblika, niti načina kako da zapravo se manifestiraju. I u stvari kad pričamo o biopolju cijelo vrijeme očigledno pričamo o informacijama, a ne o samoj nekakvoj apstraktnoj energiji.
Absolutely. You know, as far as spreading the knowledge and information, as you said, is happening. Harvard University Medical School has Department of Integrative Medicine. Cleveland Clinic, which is one of the largest and most trusted clinics in the United States, has Department of Integrative Medicine. Most of the big universities, Duke University is starting the same project. When we take a look on the particles of subatomic particles, they all vibrate, and they're all pure energy. If we start looking at them, they become particle. So we have energy or wave which vibrates if we don't look at it. If we look at it, it becomes a particle. Nobody knows how to explain it. If you take two, and you know that, if you take two of those particles and bring them close together and then separate them, you can put them 1 kilometer away or another place of Earth. This one starts vibrating, this will do it instantly at the same time. There is really not even Einstein theory of speed of light. It's faster than speed of light. It's instantaneous. Einstein called that spooky moment of the quantum physics. That's something that we do not have any explanation for. Lots of things we have no explanation for.
Jeste li završili?
Yes.
Naravno, možda se može pristupiti tom problemu iz raznih kuteva. Možda bi se objašnjenje krilo, možda kao u ideji da zapravo nema prostora i vremena, nego nas se samo čine da postoje i tako, ali tu sad već ulazimo u mentalne egzibicije koje tako onako, ima svoje ograničenje, da tako kažemo, po pitanju apstrakcija. Kada smo eto prije koju godinu sa jednim znanstvenikom iz Slovenije, Igorom Jermanom, pričali tu o biopolju, on je na svom institutu odlučio napraviti jedan, rekao bih, administrativni zahvat. Dakle, svi kažu onako u nekoj predodžbi, biopolje to kao ne postoji, to nije znanstvena tema i slično. On je odlučio potražiti postoje li znanstveni radovi na temu biopolja u svjetskim bazama podataka i koliko ih zapravo ima. I na njegovo čak iznenađenje otkrio ih je stotine. Dakle, u kojoj mjeri, prema vašim spoznama, danas postoje zapravo tih istraživanja, ako su stotine radova, onda su i stotine znanstvenika, onda je stotine mjesta. U kojoj mjeri se danas zapravo biopolje istražuje? Jer očigledno da uvijek ostaje za sad još uvijek negdje ispod radara, eto, dođe neki čovjek poput vas iz drugog kraja svijeta, pa nećete to naći na svakom uglu.
Well, the research is mainly, what I'm looking into it is from the medical usage of changes in biofield. You know, I use Korotkov camera, and you're familiar with that, and I see every single patient with this. In the days when I was doing surgery, and I quit doing surgery 2 years ago at my age of 85, because now I'm just strictly devoted to the quantum medicine. But I would always examine patient before taking him to surgery with a Korotkov GDV camera, and if they have a low biofield or they have certain changes in the biofield that I did not like, I would not do the surgery until we correct that. I never had a single complication from the surgery when I did that. I started doing that prior to 2014. When I started doing that, I had regular complications like everybody else in my community, in my medical community. You get infections post-surgically, you get problems of different nature. But after I started using the biofield as a measurement for ability for somebody to stand surgery, I had no complications at all. Now I see every patient who comes in, before I do anything, before I take the history, I would put them on the camera, and I would ask them, what happened with your gallbladder? How do you know I have it out? Okay, what happened with this? What happened with that? And it is so precise that I cannot even explain it. But utilizing all those informations, I think that we can, in the future, develop much more significant apparatuses, scan the whole body, press the button and correct it.
Pa eto, obično u dugoj tradiciji takozvanih bioenergetičara ljudi su često puta znali biti iznenađeni kada bi im neki čovjek rekao sa 12 godina si imao ozljedu kralježnice, sa 15 godina si imao ozljedu ramena, oni bi mislili da je to nekakva čarolija, da čovjek možda vidovit. Na kraju krajeva on je možda u tom trenutku neki instrument također, i ljudsko tijelo je instrument. Sad ste djelomično odgovorili na pitanje kako se znanost biopolja može koristiti u medicini. Vi ste recimo koristili u uočavanju neravnoteže koja bi mogla ometati rezultat operacije. Na koje još načine, kako još vidite upotrebu znanja o biopolju u medicini? Koje su ovako, kad biste malo maštu raširili, koje zapravo potencijale pruža takav paradigmatski obrat?
I told you that I had since 2014 several patients that I seen in a follow-up. They had abnormal biofield. My knowledge in the beginning was very rudimentary, like everybody else is. And, we were talking about it, but we did not pay attention. 2 years later, developed the cancer. If I had the knowledge about this, if I correct that in a way that we still don't know how to, but this is Lots of work is involved in that. Lots of good research people are working on it, that we can use outside frequency, either by certain apparatuses or patches. I like patches because you don't have to be hooked up to the electrical outlet. And we can change those frequency, and those people change it, because if you use outside frequency, genome can change. We use those frequency for autism. And certain children, there was not many of them, but we had 3 cases that 3 kids, after 1 year of usage of the patches, had no need for patches nor medication. They went to the normal schools, had no problems. When I used that patch for the first time, it was a director of the hospital that I worked. She had a child that was 8 years old, that was autistic. And next day, I gave her a patch. I said, put it right wherever we had the instructions to do it. She came back next day and started crying. I said, what happened? I thought I hurt the kid. And she said, oh, my son for the first time in 8 years came, hugged me and said, Mom, I love you. Brought tears to my eyes.
Kada pričamo o utjecaju na biopolje, evo, opisali ste jedan od mnogobrojnih načina, znači kao nekakve flasteri. Postoje i načini sa računalima gdje se drže određene stvari. Postoje na kraju krajeva i ljudi koji isto tako utječu. No pravo pitanje, s obzirom da je riječ o, rekao bih, suptilnom polju, koja nekako se možda stvara, možda je svjetlost samo medij, možda nije to polje u biti svjetlosno, tko to zna, no na koji način se sve ono može utjecati? Jer iz ovog što smo čuli, reklo bi se da vi imate tu svoje vrlo nježno i suptilno biopolje, imam ga i ja, i na neki način cijelo vrijeme utječemo jedni na druge. Skoro da je nemoguće ne utjecati na biopolje ako je to tako.
Apsolutno.
Jer biopolje nam zapravo možda čak i daje nekakva ideja o razmišljanju, u međusobnom ponašanju, jer nije ista stvar ako mi se čini da mogu utjecati na vas ili da jednostavno ste vi unutar svog tijela, ja unutar svog i ništa se između ne događa. Pa koje su to sve mogućnosti utjecaja na biopolje, kako možda tehnološki, tako i neki drugi koji do sad su uopće
nastavili? Very interesting question. You know, lately we have lots of very serious researchers. They don't think that we think at all, that we collect all the information by using our biofield to resonate with zero-point field, quantum field. Quantum field, according to the old Veda, again, I'm going to go to the Vedic knowledge. It's called Akasha, which means air or nothing. That Akashic records, according to Veda, is absolute recording studio of the universe. And whatever happens in the universe, it is right there. You know, Tesla did a very interesting comment in his autobiography that I read many times. He says, I never invented a thing. I would have a dream, I would wake up and do the drawing of my dream. That's his own words. So, do we really think ourselves, utilize our brain, or our brain is just a CPU, central processing unit, and we just through our biofield, are connecting with the universal knowledge. You mentioned earlier that universal knowledge is somehow changing our sensitivity, that we are increasing our sensitivity, and synchronicity is more known and recognized. You know, my friend Tillen, that brought me here to you, all I had to do just think about him to call me and he would call me.
To je skoro danas već klasična situacija.
I mean,
mnogi su iskusili.
It just happened almost 99%, or sometimes I would pick up the phone to call him and he would call me in the meantime. So the synchronicity is something which is absolutely, I should not say unique, but everyday happening. More and more things of that nature are now becoming common things. Intuitive thinking, which some people used to call clairvoyance. Tesla also said, and I love to quote Tesla, all the paranormal is normal, but not discovered yet.
Kada pričamo o promjenama u biopolju, prije ste pričali, možemo usporediti onaj primjer sa bioenergetičarima koji ljudima kažu gdje ih je što boljelo ili kakvu su imali ozljedu. Na sličan način, eto, na recimo PIP kameri Michaela Oldfielda vide se zapravo zabrinjavajuće slike za one koji puno telefoniraju. Odjednom se vide crna područja u polju, tamo gdje se telefon puno drži. Znači, svašta se može tu otkriti. I rekli ste da možete tako unosom, recimo to tako, zdravih frekvencija, usklađivanjem tog orkestra, zapravo još na tom polju, biopolju, popravljati buduće bolesti koje bi se mogle dogoditi ako se to sa biopolja spušta prema fizičkom tijelu i slično. No pravo je pitanje, otkuda ti poremećaj u biopolju? Znači, vi ih možete recimo popraviti na neki način tako frekvencijski. Međutim, oni su iz nekog razloga nastali. Neko bi rekao sudbinski, neko bi rekao zbog percepcije, zbog ponašanja, zbog razmišljanja čovjeka, karmički uzroci, razne se terminologija koristi. No, u svakom slučaju sa popravljanjem tog polja, u kojoj mjeri se zapravo popravi uzrok onog što je pokvarilo polje?
Well, whatever we process in our brain and send to our body has tremendous cause for lots of changes in our body. You know, I met in my life lots of happy people and lots of unhappy people. But for all those unhappy people, I always tell them, happiness is an inside job. Nobody can make you happy but yourself. There is one observation that I have noticed in my practice of 60 years, because I had the patients that I saw when I was very young, and they kind of grew with me. When somebody comes with a cancer, I always ask them, what tragically happened in your life 2 years ago? And they will always have some tremendous trauma. So chronic stress is one that causes changes on our biofield, on our frequencies. And once you start having problems with the frequency, unless you correct them, it takes 2 years to develop dis-ease or disease. Okay? So that is one of the things. Other things are, we are all living in a toxic society. We breathe toxic air, we drink toxic water, we eat toxic food.
Čitamo toksične vijesti.
That is all giving us additional stress. But whatever happens usually happens through the mental changes that we perceive with our 5 senses. Without 5 senses, we have no knowledge about life. Which I don't see, don't hear, don't smell, don't taste, don't touch, does not exist.
Kako vidite nekakvu bližu ili dalju budućnost istraživanja biopolja? Do sad smo, recimo, ustanovili, ne samo u ovom trenutku, nego i prije, da postoji puno znanstvenih istraživanja biopolja, da postoji puno načina kako se može utjecati na te frekvencije. Naravno, kada počneš razmišljati u smjeru frekvencija, odgovor nije tako težak. Jednostavno ti trebaju neke druge frekvencije pa da se tu nešto zatitra. Također, eto, spomenuli ste da postoje ti odjeli za integrativnu medicinu, to bi bio nekakav kao kodna riječ za cijelo to područje na velikim sveučilištima. I naravno da se čini da mnoge stvari koje podliježu danas medicinskim zahvatima možda bi se mogle negdje u korijenu spriječiti na nekakvom, ljudi misle na naše tijelo tu završava, ali ako shvatiš da možda tu negdje završava i da se ovdje negdje počne događati procesi, možda možeš nešto učiniti. Kako vi vidite, recimo, budućnost, bez obzira jeste li optimist ili pesimist, vaše osnovno viđenje, budućnost ovog o čemu još uvijek razgovaramo kao egzotičnoj temi, ima je dosta na raznim krajevima, ali još uvijek je nekako ipak manjinska. Kako vidite budućnost razvoja znanosti o biopolju i budućnosti primjene? Jer čini mi se da bi taj jedan svijet u kojem bi se obraćalo pažnju na biopolje bio drugačiji, ne samo medicinski, nego na mnoge druge načine.
You know, I presume that you saw some sci-fi movies such as Star Wars, and when somebody gets ill, goes to the dispensary, and they use a small scanner, go like this, and that beeps, gives you all kinds of digital readings, and they press the button and they heal them. I think the future of medicine is really that physicians like I am will disappear. The pharma, God forbid, will disappear because we will be able to balance our energy or energetic field, whatever you want to call it, in our body, and we'll be able to always keep it in balance. I think the future of medicine, the hospitals will not be there. Hospitals will be there only for the trauma. And if people drive here in Zagreb, there'll be lots of trauma.
Moglo bi biti više da nisu tako vješti. Drugim riječima, kažete da će ljudi postati sami svoji liječnici na neki način ako shvate da zapravo polje, njihovo biopolje negdje iz njih dolazi, a da je u njemu bolest i zdravlje.
Apsolutno.
Gospodine Brašman, hvala vam na ovom pregledu biopolja i do neke sljedeće prilike, s obzirom da već mjesecima tu kružite po Balkanu, možda nam dođete i opet. Pa evo, pozdravljam vas i želim vam sretan put gdje god ste uputili.
Veliko hvala.
Eto, hvala i vama na pažnji. Intuitivno nije tako teško prihvatiti da postoji neko biopolje koje je u nekakvoj vezi sa živim bićima. No čim dublja i čim više sve prožimajuća neka pojava jest, time naravno i suptilna i teže odvojiva od svega ostalog. Dobar primjer su čak i sami atomi koji su sve samo nefiksne materijalne čestice. No kako iz suptilnih tih razina stvarnosti izrasta ova krajnje nesuptilna stvarnost oko nas, onda nije nerazumno pomisliti da bi se na nju efikasno moglo djelovati ne samo direktno, nego naokolo. Upravo kroz taj podrum stvarnosti, na onom mjestu na kojem nešto što još nije ništa postaje nešto. Tu smo malo izgubljeni u riječima. Uostalom, misterij postojanja života nije ni izbliza shvaćen kako nam se to često čini. Možda neće nikad ni biti, ali zašto bi trebalo sve shvatiti? Ponekad je dovoljno shvatiti i samo to da je pred nama još jedna laka noć.